Christ and the Father. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is also head of the body, the church, and he is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he himself will come to have first place in everything. For it was the Father's good pleasure for all the fullness to dwell in him. Colossians 1:15-9. Those who dispute the deity of Christ sometimes attempt to use Colossians 1:15-19 to support their view. They suggest, for example, that the phrase, the image of the invisible God, v15, indicates that Jesus was merely a created being who bore the image of God in the same sense as all humanity. But the Greek word translated image here is icon, which refers to a perfect replica, a precise copy, or an exact reproduction, as in a fine sculpture or portrait. Paul was saying that God himself is fully manifest in the person of his Son, who is none other than Jesus Christ. He is the exact image of God. Hebrews 1-3 makes an identical affirmation. He is the radiance of his glory and the exact representation of his nature. Christ is to God as the warm brilliance of light is to the Sunday. Just as the sun is never without its brightness, so it is with Christ and God. They cannot be divided, and neither has ever existed without the other. They are one. See John 10:30. The Greek word translated radiance, apaugasma, to send forth light, represents Jesus as the manifestation of God. Since no one can see God at any time, see John 1:18, and none of us on earth ever will, the only radiance that reaches us from God is mediated to us from Jesus Christ. We live in a world full of injustice, failure, privation, separation, disease, and death. A moral darkness covers men and women who are blinded by their godless appetites and passions. The Apostle Paul confirmed this fact. Even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing, in whose case the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelieving, so that they might not see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. 2 Corinthians 4:3-4. But if you are Christian, God has opened your eyes to the light. For God, who said, "Light shall shine out of darkness," is the one who has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Christ. Va Shest. Jesus himself said, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in the darkness, but will have the light of life." John 8:12. We would never be able to see or enjoy God's light if we couldn't see Jesus. His light is life itself, true spiritual life, which gives us purpose, meaning, peace, joy, and fellowship for all eternity. Hebrews 1-3 also says that Christ is the exact representation of God's nature. Jesus is the express image of God, not only in his manifestation, but also in his very essence or substance. Even in his incarnation, he set aside the use of his attributes, not the attributes themselves, so he was always fully God. "He who has seen me," he told the disciples, "has seen the Father." John 14-9. Paul confirmed that the glory of God shines in Jesus Christ. See 2 Corinthians 4-4-6. Exact representation translates the Greek word character, from which we derive the English words character and characteristic. The Greeks typically use this term for an impression made by a die or stamp on a seal, in which the design on the die is reproduced on the wax. By using such terminology, the writer of Hebrews was claiming that Jesus Christ is the reproduction of God, the perfect personal imprint of God, in time and space. Through Christ, the invisible God has been made visible. God's full likeness is revealed in him. Colossians 1:19 takes the truth a step further. It was the Father's good pleasure for all the fullness to dwell in him. He is not just an outline of God, he is fully God. Colossians 2:9 is even more explicit. In him all the fullness of deity dwells in bodily form. Nothing is lacking. No attribute is absent. He is God in the fullest possible sense. In Colossians 1:15, Paul said Jesus is the firstborn of all creation. Those who reject the deity of Christ have made much of that phrase, assuming it means Jesus was a created being and thus he could not be the eternal God. But the word translated firstborn, prototokos, describes Jesus' rank, not his origin. Although prototokos can mean firstborn chronologically, see Luke 2-7, it refers primarily to position. In both Greek and Jewish culture, the firstborn was the son who ranked first and thus had the right of inheritance. As a result, the firstborn son in a royal family had the right to rule. Christ is the one who inherits all creation and the right to rule over it. In Psalm 89-27, God said of David, "I also shall make you my firstborn, the highest of the kings of the earth." There, the meaning of firstborn is given in plain language, the highest of the kings of the earth. That's what prototokos means. With regard to Christ, he is Lord of lords and King of kings, Revelation 17:14. Hebrews 1 again offers a parallel statement. Verse 2 says, God has appointed his Son heir of all things. As the Son of God, Jesus is the heir of all that God possesses. Everything that exists in the universe will find its true meaning only when it comes under his control. We see that theme in Psalms, where the Father says to the Son, "Ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as your inheritance and the very ends of the earth as your possession." 2-8. In the last days, God's kingdom will be given finally and eternally to Jesus Christ. See Reverend 11:15. Revelation 5 pictures God in heaven sitting on a throne, holding a sealed scroll in his hand. That scroll is the title deed to the earth and all that's in it, and he is holding it for the heir, the one who has the right to possess the earth. Roman law required that a will be sealed 7 times to protect it from being tampered with, and that is true of this title deed. At first, no one is found worthy to break its seals, but Jesus Christ, the worthy Lamb, comes and takes the scroll from the right hand of God because he, and he alone, has the right to do so. Revelation 6 records the first step in Christ taking back the earth that is rightfully his. As he breaks each seal, one by one, he takes further possession and control of his inheritance. Finally, when he breaks the 7th seal, the 7th trumpet blows, and the 7th bowl is poured out, the earth is his. When Christ first came to earth, he became poor so that we, through his poverty, might be made rich. See 2 Cor 8-9. He had nothing for himself, nowhere to lay his head. Luke 9:58. Even his clothes were taken from him when he died, and he was buried in a borrowed grave. But when Christ comes again, things will be different. He will completely and eternally inherit all things. Those who trust their lives to him will be fellow heirs with him. See Rom 8:16, 1-7. When we enter his eternal kingdom, we will jointly possess all that he possesses. We will not be joint Christs or lords, but we will be joint heirs of his marvelous inheritance. Daily challenge. Since Jesus Christ is the image of God, has the right to rule the earth, and one day will make us joint heirs of his inheritance, we owe him our undying love and devotion. Those truths alone ought to make us return to our first love.